Depending on how you count it, we're in about year 30 of the Coe College Festival of Bands. And it was, the reason I say depending on how you count it, do the COVID years count? Does an online concert count? I don't know. Anyway, somewhere back in the 1990s we got started, and then in 2003 we invited back a guest composer who was actually the first composer who was part of the Festival of Bands. He came because we were playing a wonderful piece he had just recently finished called Ghost Dance, and about the Lakota Sioux massacre over in the Dakotas. And then he came back in 2003 for the first year of our elementary honor bands, because he also, in addition to college level music, writes great pieces for younger musicians. And if you were here this afternoon at 4 o'clock with the elementary honor band, you heard him conduct 4 of his pieces. We're so glad that he is willing to endure our rather strenuous schedule that we have at the Festival of Bands, working with student conductors, with student composers, rehearsing with the band, coming back the next morning, working with the elementary honor bands all day, conducting a concert, coming back for a dress rehearsal with this band, then conducting on this concert, and coming back tomorrow to work with 2 more bands. So we are very pleased to have him with us for the 3rd time now, and the first time in 20 years. Please join me in welcoming Quincy Hilliard.
It's good to be back in Iowa. When I first arrived, it was 60 or 70 degrees. So we know where we are right about now. So it's like you never know from one minute to another what's going to happen here. So it's always fun. The piece you're about to listen to is called As the World Watched. It was given to me, taken from a book. I was doing a concert with a gentleman, Johnny Folsom, and after the concert we went to his house, and his wife gave me a book that says, While the World Watched. She said, you might want to read this. Well, the first thing that always attracts a composer is a title to a book, okay? So, or a title. I went, man, that's a really cool title. So I read the book. And the book was about a young lady that grew up, was friends with the 4 girls that got killed in the church in Birmingham in 1964. And she grew up having a hard life, trying to deal with it. Alcoholism, she had a lot of psychological damage and things. But eventually she cleared herself, and she wrote this book. And I went, oh man, what a great title. So I want to write something about it. But what I wanted to do was upgrade the piece to the things that go on today, all of the shootings and all of the massacre things that's going on today. So I tried to figure out a form that I was going to put that in. And one night I was real late up, late one night, I was watching a documentary on the History Channel. It was showing all of the things after World War II where they was going into the concentration camps, and they was just taking all of these bodies and they had bulldozers and just digging them up and throwing them into a mass grave in all of these places. I went, oh my God, those are human beings. So then it came to me, the form that I was going to put this in. When I hear about the shootings and the silly things and the insipid things that we do, I said, I'm in shock. So the first part of the piece you're going to hear, it's going to be, actually, the entire piece is my emotions on paper. So the first part is going to be shock that I go into. The next part that I go into is going to be anger. You'll hear that the piece the tempo will pick up, and you'll hear a lot of percussion things going on. And then the last part of the piece is my depression that I go through when I hear the piece, when I hear about all of these shootings in the schools and in malls and things. So when I wrote the piece, I went to my son's house, and I spent in Houston, and I spent a week, and I wrote the piece in a week. And between that time in August that I wrote the piece and the time that we premiered the piece at Mississippi State University in October, the shootings that happened at the church in Texas, and the shooting had happened in Vegas. And I'm thinking these things are happening really, really it's too frequent that we're beginning to become used to it. And then when we premiered the piece in Georgia for the first time, the shooting at Parkland High School happened right after that. So as I put the piece together, I had to come up with a motive that I wanted to use. And you're going to hear this motive. You know, Beethoven has one of the most famous motives in the world, ba-ba-ba-bum, okay? Well, this is going to be my motive. Would you do it for me? All right, do it slowly now. Good. You're going to hear that come throughout the piece as it's being played. Now, I get this real sick feeling when I have to look at this and think about children being killed in schools and things like that. And I get this feeling, oh man, I feel sick. So I'm trying to figure out what instrument could give me that sick feeling. So I said, the trombones could do that. Trombones give me that sick feeling. Here we go. I wanted you to hear that because I want you to know I wrote that in the piece. They're not actually running around up here, okay? So it's just that sick feeling that comes over me. And then that last part I'm going to save is going to be the depression that comes over me when I actually, you know, when I'm thinking about this. There's also another part to this. My father was a minister, and in 1968 he passed away. So at the end of every piece in which I have people that I'm showing some remorse over people that have been killed, I like to use the chime because the chime represents the church, and then at that point I'm giving them eternal life, but also I'm giving tribute to my father who was a minister. I hope you enjoyed this performance of As the World Watched.
Thank you.